Traditionally, the breakdown between our negotiated work was about 30% negotiated, 70% tendered, and things have changed a bit. I'd say we're working on about 70% negotiated, 30% tendered. To us, it saves a lot of costs in time by not having to tender work that we don't get, and we concentrate more on represents of those that we have got.
Well, I'm not sure how you explain this, but we've had our best financial year ever, so that's probably a good thing.
Good.
And a significant increase, a good 20 to 30% over last year and over any previous year that we've had financially, with actually probably fewer people and fewer senior people, which is quite a coup. So I think there's probably some immediate financial results we found purely by just doing things a bit smarter and probably acknowledging the value that we're adding rather than maybe discounting as much as we have in the past.
I'm bound to say that at this stage my recommendations to the firm and the processes are nothing but great, absolutely great, well worthwhile. It's a fair bit of money, but money well spent. And in the overall scheme of things, maybe the money will disappear in insignificance as we grow this business and we've got certain goals. We've grown the business a lot, well, about 30% in most years, but it becomes harder as those sort of numbers get higher, but we believe we'll get more than 30% this year.
Just waiting for people to come along.
The program was very valuable for me. I can't even think about how my life will be and my business will be without him. He helped me through overcoming fears and really getting clarity of what I want to achieve. So yeah, thanks Greg, thanks again.
Probably the biggest change is one of attitude and confidence in the way we deal with clients mainly. You have the confidence to say no and the confidence to actually charge for work that we do. We're able to earn more from our projects. We are more selective and at the same time more successful in the projects that we seek and achieve.
I've completely changed my approach to attracting new clients. Before I started the program, I thought that really I should be trying to speak to as many people as possible or marketing to as many people as possible, and it was a very diverse and not a very focused approach to marketing. With Greg's support, I have fine-tuned that to be a very narrow and very tailored approach, and I have really understood and defined in detail who my client is and who my client is not. And I think that has been just as valuable as knowing who my client is.
We had a basic system in place, but there was no structure to it. So the main thing we found is we've got a proper structure now, and that's not just for staff training, but it's also for the way we do the systems we operate within our business as well. So as far as sales go, as far as mapping sales, as far as targets and all that type of stuff, which is something we were not particularly strong on doing in the past. It was just take each month as it comes. And now we're more focused on working to a figure.
I haven't even implemented our full strategy yet. I'm just looking at. I don't know if you've got to the educate, enroll type things, but I'm just working on the escalation side with our current clients, and just that's working. And I've already got more work than I can handle, and I haven't even started actually trying to attract more clients. We've just got 2 new clients since we were talking, and just like our workload has gone from 80 hours a week to 150 hours a week in a couple of months. So we're just like so many new challenges. They're all great challenges to be having, and yeah. Normally December, November, January is a fairly slow month for us. It's packed. We're going to be working all the way through. We're going to take some holidays, but so things are going really well.
Hello, Nat Nissen from Corporate Wellness Group. Just wanting to pop by and thank Greg from Business Flight Path so much for our strategy session, because it has changed everything. Greg has the most unique set of skills that can explain everything from business, the finance, the accounts, to marketing, to advertising, and most importantly, to really getting at a deeper level and an understanding of what we really are about and what we really want to do. So until now, until our strategy session, I had marketers and advertisers and experts of all sorts telling me what to do and how to do it, and this was going to work. But it never really hit home, and it never really worked to the extent that I needed it to. And this was because I didn't follow the proper process that Greg has shown me. How to be an authority in my field that I already am, but how to get to the depths of that, how to really understand, how to get my passion across, how to get my values across, how to make sure that what I'm putting out is exactly what I want to be seen. It's so important that we get the foundations right. And now I understand exactly why, because in that strategy session, I have had more breakthroughs than I have had in the last few years of expert marketers trying to help me. So I just want to thank you so much, Greg. You are an expert.
Not only is Helping Hands doing better as a business, I am a better and more effective business owner, and I'm a better and more effective employer.
Yeah. Wow.
And those are two things that I knew would need to happen if the Helping Hands group was going to change, but I didn't expect them to happen to this scale.
My business has grown. I have grown. My attitude towards the things I should be doing in business has changed. I feel far more positive, and I feel like I'm making progress, and very happy with the direction the business is going, and very happy with particularly my state of mind. I think I'm far more positive now and actually enjoying going to work every day.
Greg has come on board. He's helped us plan and put a strategy in place, which has enabled us to grow the business. In 12 months, we've seen almost doubling of our turnover, and with that, obviously, our profitability has gone up as well.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. I'd like to introduce our host this morning, Greg Werowith.
Good morning, everyone. Good to have you here.
Greg has been called Australia's #1 business growth strategist for owners of professional service firms. He's also the author of Run Your Business on Autopilot, How to Leverage Your Business to Maximum Profit in Minimum Time, and also Cracking the Code, How to Break Free from Being Stuck in the Centre of Your Business to Growing Business at the Strategic Level. He specialises in assisting smart but frustrated professional business owners to discover their unique market positioning and to quickly leverage their business by attracting more ideal clients and building the systems and the team to run their business on autopilot. Since working as a CPA and a chartered accountant, including time at one of the Big Four accountancy firms, Greg has started, grown and sold 5 businesses of his own, including 3 consultancy practices in Adelaide, New Zealand and Melbourne, the last of which he sold 4 years ago. Since then, he has been focused specifically on supporting owners of small to medium-sized professional services firms, having clients in Australia, North America, Europe, and New Zealand. Greg's academic qualifications include a Bachelor of Business and an MBA, but Greg says his greatest learnings about business come from getting down and dirty from working in the trenches in his first business in the irrigation industry, plus the lessons he learned from overcoming the challenges he experienced in growing each of his professional services businesses. Right now, it's time to hand over to Greg and to learn about cracking the code to disruptive business growth. Over to you, Greg.
Hi, everyone. Good to have you here, and looking forward this morning to really talking to you about how to accelerate your sales results and create that disruptive business growth through my process called strategic authority marketing. So I'm going to share my screen and put on the PowerPoints that will help guide us through this process. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see that there on their screen. Just thumbs up. Yep, great. All right, so the Strategic Authority Marketing System is really about how you can attract premium clients consistently and predictably with less personal effort and expense. And as we go through this presentation today, I really want to make it interactive and have your involvement. So feel free to put your videos on, come off mute if you have a question, or just pop a connection or a question into the chat box if you like to do that. So love to make this as interactive as possible and make it tailored and customized to your specific needs as we go. So what we're covering in this presentation today is, first of all, the challenge. That challenge about how to make client acquisition and revenue growth consistent and predictable. Then we're going to look at the problems that most professional service businesses encounter with client acquisition. Then how to use strategic authority to build trust, credibility, and demand with your market. And finally, how to build a strategic authority attraction marketing system to help multiply sales and profits within 12 months. But firstly, who am I and why listen to me? And as Sarah has introduced me, we won't need to go through all of that detail again, but the most important elements of my background really are that I have started, grown and sold 3 professional service firms in the past 25 years. But the reality of that was that it was never easy to get clients until I developed a strategy that delivered clients consistently and predictably. And that's often the breakdown for many professional service firms, and one of the most challenging aspects of growing a successful business. According to Hinge Marketing Research, they have identified that 85% of professional firms list client acquisition as their #1 challenge. So if that's you, you're not alone. And really there are two personalities or 2 Gregs that are talking to you today about the background and why we're able to talk about creating a system that delivers clients virtually on demand. But the first personality I want to talk to you about is the struggling Greg. And that was from the time when I was starting to grow my consulting practice, my first business, and I was going about that with organic marketing. And through that process, I really had no consistency in client acquisition and no control over when I would get clients or if I would get clients in time. And there was never enough leads. So my focus was really on hunting for clients, using the typical things like networking and even resorting to cold calling and hoping to get referrals. Because of that lack of consistency, I needed clients, so I often had to compete on price. I had to write up sales proposals to win most sales. And the result of that was being on a sales roller coaster, busy one month and quiet the next. And because of that, I really had no ability to scale my business. It seemed like I was stuck on this roller coaster and could never plan to grow the business because I was never sure about that sustainability and the sustainable growth that I was looking for. And when the internet came along and I started to learn about internet marketing, and I tried to do a few things myself, but really didn't work very well when I tried it myself. So I started to get mentors to come on board and so-called experts. But really, these experts were very tactical in their approach, and they were well, helping me in areas that they told me that they could really accelerate my results. And you know, I had website designers coming to me and saying, well, they could improve my website and get us more leads. And as a result of that, we had 3 new websites in 2 years, but really our results didn't change. Facebook marketing expert came along and said they could get us more leads through Facebook. And as a result of that, we got a trickle of leads, but they were very low quality leads. Google and SEO experts came along and talked about advertising on Google and getting our SEO sorted out. But again, none of these tactics worked very well. The same with YouTube and LinkedIn. You know, all of these tactics were supposed to get us new leads and new clients, but really didn't shift the needle on our client acquisition much at all. So I was in a desperate state. I didn't really know what to do, but being a stubborn person and having a consulting type mind, I stuck at it, and I went back to the drawing board and I worked it out for myself. And I realized that instead of being tactical, I needed to be strategic. And so Strategic Greg was born. I'd evolved from the tactical struggling Greg and developed a strategic mindset. And, you know, I've got to admit that was after having the right mentors. Again, I wasn't able to figure this out totally on my own, but finding the right mentors who were pointing me in the direction of strategy rather than tactics really helped. And as a result of building the system strategically, we ended up with a step-by-step system for client acquisition that was targeted on high quality prospects, and we generated high quality leads as a result. But having that process ultimately delegated and outsourced, so it didn't depend on me to make it work. It was really focused on the strategy of authority positioning. And because of that strategy, we were elevated and didn't have to compete on price. It was a very much client-centric and value-based educational approach. It was not about self-promotion at all. And this is where a lot of people go wrong in this professional services space, particularly. We really specialized our services and designed our services to be a perfect fit for our target market. And that allowed us to create a premium pricing based on the value that we deliver to our clients. And because we were a perfect fit for them, we developed long-term relationships with highly satisfied clients. And that became the platform to scale the business. So to give you an insight into what that process now looks like and the system that we work on with our clients today, our 90-day strategic authority marketing program helps our clients design the strategic authority attraction system to deliver their clients to them consistently and predictably. So which Greg do you ultimately want to be like? You know, do you want to be the struggling Greg? Or maybe you are at the moment. Let's do a, or let you tell us where you see yourself at the moment. You know, are you like struggling Greg, where you're not sure where the next client is coming from? Are you regarded as a service provider or a commodity by the market? Marketing tends to feel like gambling because you hope to get a result, even though when you spend money on marketing, you're really not sure if it's going to work or not. You may have slow paying clients, and the work you do with clients is very transactional type work. Your marketing efforts rely on your time and effort, and you have challenging sales calls with skeptical prospects. So pop a 1 in the chat box there for me if you see yourself being like struggling Greg at the moment. Is that where you see your marketing, or you know, perhaps you're more like strategic Greg? So let's see some ones in the box, or twos if you like, more like strategic, Greg, at the moment. Maybe you see yourself there. Some maybe partway through between the two, for sure. Thanks, Phil. Diane, thanks. Just a little bit over the one. Yeah, there's some improvements to be made. So yeah, I'd like to see where you see yourselves in that place, so I can really tailor this presentation to you as much as possible. So I know there's more than 3 people on the call. Let's see some more of you participating. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Lisa. Okay, we're getting a bit of a feel for it. So most of us are maybe more like struggling Greg than strategic Greg. So strategic Greg, in the end, had a system that created predictability in client acquisition and enabled me to be regarded as the market authority. The marketing now attracts premium clients predictably, and we're able to command premium prices as a result. We're also able to get payment in advance, and we have premium clients with long-term relationships. Marketing is totally systemized and automated, and sales are now easy because we're talking to pre-sold clients that are already educated and understand the value that we offer. So our sales meetings are much easier than those previous challenging sales calls with the skeptical prospects. So let's put a Y in the chat box if you want to be like strategic Greg, and you'd like to make that transition from where you are to having that predictability in client acquisition by being the authority in your market. Thanks, Chris. Good to see that you're on the right track. So we're obviously in the right space. Thanks, Stephen. And yes, it's good to realize that there's potentially more to learn than where you are. Thanks, Margaret and Phil. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Diane and Rod. Great. Yep, there's always more to learn and always more to build on. So let's look at the problems that we have in marketing. And thanks for the contributions you're making, and just making sure that we're in the right space and the things we're going to talk about are relevant to you. So some of you, even though your systems may be dialed in and working well, may be able to improve, because I see a lot of opportunities for even successful professional service firms to improve on the way they do things and make their marketing even more successful. But the first problem I see is that typically in professional services, the marketing is all about the firm, and it doesn't particularly address the client's needs through the marketing process. There's a tendency to rely on old marketing methods which are no longer effective, and using modern marketing methods without an effective strategy, as I said, working tactically didn't work very well either. So in the chat box, put in what you think is the number one most effective way to get clients. I think this is probably the most common way. Stephen's nailed it. Yeah. Referrals, yeah, LinkedIn, but building trust, great. Referrals from other clients, word of mouth, referrals. Yeah, it's really the way that we get our best clients is through referrals. But as much as we want as many referrals as we can get, typically that's not a controllable, scalable process. And unfortunately, with the way that the market is going, with the advent of the internet, the whole landscape is changing, and we need to update and improve our marketing methods so we're not so reliant on referrals. Exactly right. their fill. They're warm leads, but we can't control the flow. What we need to understand before we go on is that in our market, there's a spectrum of buyers who fit into one of these different categories. And these numbers here are sort of rule of thumb numbers that have been gauged over a number of experiments, not overly scientifically, but they seem to bear up in practice fairly frequently. The flow goes from, first of all, not having a need or not recognizing a need, then becoming aware of a need. Once we become aware of a need, we start to look for a solution. And then we narrow down our options and identify the best solution for us. And then we go to market ready to buy. Now, with referrals, typically someone becomes aware of a need and they perhaps don't even understand or know that there might be a solution available for that. So, but ultimately they might start looking for a solution. Now, in the past, and typically, people have looked for a solution by talking to other people. They talk to their friends or their peers, and they'll ask, gee, I've got a problem about growing my business. Do you know, what are you doing to get your clients consistently or predictably? Because that's the biggest problem I have. So they'll talk to someone they know, and someone might say, well, you need to talk to Greg. Here's his details. Go and contact him and have a chat to him about the situation. So they identify that solution, and a lot of trust is built through that relationship with someone who knows the authority in the market. So we get referrals that have a lot of trust built up, and they come to us almost ready to buy. We just have to perhaps explain a little bit about how we work and why we're a good fit to solve their problem. But let's look at what's happening. A recent Hinge marketing study of professional services buyers showed that over a 5-year period, traditional referrals decreased by 16% and client loyalty declined by 20%. At the same time, the use of online search grew by an eye-popping 66%. And based on the Hinge marketing study of buyer behaviour, they estimate that approximately 70% of buyers' sales behaviour happens in the digital space. Now, what that means is that our reliance on referrals, we already know they're not scalable, and we don't have control over that process, but even the landscape is changing so that people aren't talking to other people to get referrals as much anymore, and that trend is a growing trend. So if we're just relying on referrals to get our sales and our clients, that process is a shrinking pie. We need to be more involved in the digital space using online marketing methods so that our clients can find us and see us as the authority in the market. Now, the typical process is that we need to understand how to build trust through that buyer's journey, but most of us really are not very good at that. Let's look at the typical sort of website we see from a professional service firm. Now, this one I picked at random doing a Google search, and I've rubbed out the names to protect the innocent, but I could have picked any number of websites, and this one was in the management consulting space. But if you look at the your competitors' websites, you're going to probably see, unless you're really smart and understand this process, that your website looks almost identical to that of your competitors. And that really is a shame, because most of these websites never actually attract the attention of your ideal clients. In fact, most of them don't even identify who your ideal clients are. And that's the biggest fault on a website. People, well, the biggest challenge in marketing is how to attract attention. And the thing that attracts people's attention is by, calling them by name. That's the biggest way you can attract someone's attention, isn't it? You can, at a party, really, hey, hi, Pauline, good to see you. And I've got Pauline's attention as she smiles and says, yes. So on our website, obviously we can't identify everyone by name, but we can identify them by the problem they have. And really the most important part of getting the attention is to say, are you like this, struggling with this problem? Now that's going to get most people's attention, but on most websites, it's all about us. It's all about our firm and what we do. And unfortunately, what we do is not really relevant to the client until they understand what the best solution for their problem is. Now, most of the market is not in that ready to buy state, and they're looking for solutions. So they don't understand yet that your solutions or your services are the right solution for them. So the answer to that is to create authority positioning. And authority positioning is, well, the first step in that process is really to become ultra clear about your purpose, to have a powerful purpose that engages your target market. It needs to be focused on them and what you can do for them so that they will see why you're in business and what you're trying to do to solve their problem. So having a powerful purpose is ideally being able to identify the problem that you're the solution for, or that your firm is the solution for. So if I ask you right now to pop in the chat box, what is the problem that you're the solution for? Let's see how quickly you can answer that. Okay, Stephen, thanks for that. I think that's an interesting way to describe it. Pauline, thank you. Peace of mind. Okay, Phil, we give control back to our clients. We telling your infrastructure stories. Okay, what I'm seeing here goes part way towards that, but it really isn't that identifier. You're not grabbing me with my problem. And a lot of what you're telling me there is more or less the solution, but it's not really identifying the problem, which is what I asked for. And this is the typical challenge. Thanks, Jeremy, for your honesty. That's typically what happens in this space. It's very difficult. And again, Stephen, this is what you do, but it's not the problem you solve. So this is a challenge for people, and I hope you don't mind me picking on you there, Stephen, but this is typical of the problem, that we're really good at understanding solutions. As consultants, that's what we're focused on. We're solution creators. We solve problems, but we're not that great typically at describing the solution in a way that our clients understand it. Now, the second step is really narrowing down and targeting on the client. Who are our premium clients and what do they look like? We can't be all things to everyone. That's really a road to nowhere. So becoming the specialist for someone that has a specific problem. Okay, Margaret, thanks for the second attempt, but I'm still not there yet. Because why do people have networking problems? What are they trying to solve by networking? Again, there's still a focus on the solution rather than the problem. So getting good at describing that is the key to powerful purpose. But who do we do that for is the premium client persona that we need to define and understand. And then we can create our prime authority positioning strategies around how do we present ourselves for to be the best solution for those clients. Thanks, Pauline. Still needs a bit of work, I think. So when we got this right for Damien Battersby, and we were able to create a clear purpose and target market for Damien, he was able to double their sales turnover within 12 months and without really any extra costs in the business, because we created a more exact match fit for his ideal clients. He was able to strategically attract those clients and do more work with those clients to grow his revenue and profitability by 100% in 12 months. The same with Murray Deans, and an outcome of this clarity of purpose is so typical, and it was from Murray, that it re-energized and refocused his team. Now, because they were so clear about their purpose, and it was now an exciting, inspiring purpose that they were coming to work for, the team was refocused and re-energized, and there's no doubt about what that energy can create in the market. And having that purpose really clearly articulated to their clients attracted so many more high-value clients that they were able to increase their business by 35% very quickly. So let's move on to problem number 2. Unless we've got any questions that you want to ask there, feel free to come off mute if you've got any questions about that strategic authority process or anything that we've talked about so far. Rod, confusion, was that a comment about the market, or are you totally confused with what I'm saying? Okay, right. So your market's confused and that's the problem that you want to solve. Okay, we need to expand on that, but I think you're on the right track. Okay, let's move on to problem number 2. And problem number 2 is really the failure to maximize value in client relationships. And that comes around about through a lack of differentiation. And we alluded to this earlier in the way that we present ourselves to the market, but it's expanded when you don't look any different to your competitors. And this comes about, again, because of a service focus instead of the outcomes focus. And as a result of being commoditized like that, we tend to underprice ourselves. We don't charge what we're fully worth. And typically, clients I've worked with in the professional services space know that they are really not charging the full value, but they're too scared to put up their prices because of the competition. Another aspect of this is that it tends to devolve into having a transactional approach instead of having an effective relationship strategy in the process. And here's what I mean. Here is, again, a website screenshot grab that I took from a website where they're talking about the services that they offer around strategy. And they just had a list of typical services that all of their competitors offer as well. So the key here is that if we look just like our competitors, then what does our client have to choose from? We need to approach the market so much differently than that. We can't be a generalist. We must be a specialist so that our clients see us as the best solution for their specific problem. Most clients really don't understand what these services offer. They're typical services that consultants provide, but what do they actually really offer? What's the value of them? People don't understand that, and they needed to be educated about that before they'll be willing to entertain us or talk to us. And don't just believe what I say about this. This is my experience, but here's what Luke Smyers said in his article of 10 Consulting Trends, which is very current. He says, the majority of consultants I meet don't end up where they'd hoped, however. They aren't building a healthy pipeline or aren't working with the types of clients or projects they really wanted. They understand that being unfocused leaves them spread thin and disorganized. It confuses their clients. They don't know what they're standing for, and it ultimately burns them out in the long run. The consultant's typical fear of narrowing down their expertise domain will definitely become the fastest way to becoming commoditized as a consultant in 2022 and beyond. So this is exactly the process that I've seen over many years of trying to be all things to all people, but we're typically too scared to narrow our focus and become the specialists because we look at all the things we can do, and being consultants or professionals, we're very talented. We're very capable people and we can do a lot of things. But the fear of letting go of some of those things we can do for some of the people we can do it for really creates the problem, because it means that we're a commodity and not an authority. One of the things that Damien Battersby, who I talked about before, in the process that we helped them with, we actually eliminated about 50% of the services they offered from this, and really that were attracting small clients that were adding revenue to the business, but not adding profit. And a lot of the small jobs they were doing were actually costing them money. So their profits skyrocketed when we targeted their best clients, the ideal clients who were willing to pay for premium level services. And it not only meant that they had more clients like that, but it simplified their work processes as well, so that they really didn't have to add more people to double their sales revenue. So imagine what the profit's like when you can do that. So the commoditized consultant suffers from low status. You're positioned as the servant rather than the savior. It ends up with typically having to present proposals and win on price. It's a short-term, or typically you only get short-term transactional engagements when you're positioned that way, and you end up working on low-level projects instead of high-level strategic work. So the problem, or the solution to the problem of commoditization, is to become a specialist and to build a focused specialization in your business. And that means, first of all, understanding your client's challenges so well that you're able to communicate with a level of intimacy that means that they understand that you understand them. And it's more important for your clients to be, or to feel understood, than for them to understand what you have to offer. Because the biggest challenge in this process is building trust and credibility. So when your clients know that you understand them, you're more than halfway towards building trust. Think about what it's like. When you feel understood, you're more naturally open to talk to that person and communicate with them. Most consultants try to make themselves understood. They try to get our clients, we try to get our clients to understand what we do and why it's valuable for them. So we focus on selling ourselves and promoting ourselves to them, but that doesn't work. We first need to make our clients feel understood, and then they'll be willing to listen. Then when we also talk about the ultimate outcome that we understand they want, they can start to see themselves in that future reality, because it's what they want, but they never believed they could get there. But they start to see that that's possible with our help. Then the final step is to build a specialized solution, creating a business model or designing our services so that we're an exact match fit for solving our clients' biggest problems. When we build that focused specialization, we're able to achieve so much more and achieve a much more simplified business and so much more effective, profitable service solution for our clients. Helene Higby is a case in point here. Helene had a business with 7 consultants in the remuneration consulting field. They were typically doing a lot of transactional work around market pricing and surveys of the market, and were not really profitable at that level. So we chose a different strategy and chose a high value target market. So really narrowed the focus down. And as a result of that, changed the business model to focus on strategic challenges instead of transactional work. The result of that was that the firm attracted major corporate CEO level clients who were paying for higher level strategic projects at a higher price. And that created a consistent and predictable marketing system, and ultimately increased their revenues by 73% in year 1. Norpra Whitley had a smaller business, but was able to double his revenue within 12 months, merely by extending the services and building better relationships with his existing clients. He didn't really even have to go out to market in the first year to attract more clients, because he doubled his sales with the clients he already had. But this is typical of many many professional service firms, that we do the work that we're engaged to do, and then we walk away without really building relationships where we can look at our clients and say, well, now that we've done this, what about this? When we're on the job, we've got an opportunity to see things and show people what else we can do. But most of us never talk about what else, and we miss out on that extra revenue. So have that focus of building relationships with your clients instead of just being a service provider. Problem number 3, or before we move on to that, any questions or issues that you'd like to raise about problem number 2 and about focus specialization? All good? Okay, let's move on to problem number 3. And problem number 3 is not having a system to attract your best clients, but purely dependent on referrals and networking. And as I've said, neither of these methods is bad. We want as many referrals as we can get, and there's definitely a place for networking, but we can't rely on these methods to create predictability or scalability in our client acquisition. And the problem is that lack of trust between lead generation and the sales process that we don't achieve when we don't have a referral. So when we go to the market, and often, my clients come to me before they become clients and say, we need more leads. They want more clients, but the way to get clients is to get more leads. So they start to talk about, how can we get more leads? But the problem with focusing on getting more leads first is that we bring new leads into a vacuum, like I did back in the day. The struggling Greg looked for leads instead of building a system to nurture leads and educate leads so that they're pre-sold and ready to buy. So the remedy for lack of system is to build a strategic attraction system so that your lead capture methods, become viable and effective because you've already built a lead nurturing process and a demand creation process into the system. So it's no good bringing a lead into a vacuum and bringing them to a sales meeting. One of the biggest mistakes I see consultants making is to go too quickly into a sales meeting. I'm just reading Chris's comment here. Yeah, that's exactly right, Chris. Getting them to understand the problem before they even engage you and giving them value before they even engage you. This is the process here that we're talking about, because we need to build a sales escalator to build trust, to build relationship. With the problem with marketing for professional service firms is that it's different from marketing products. With marketing products, the sale almost makes itself when the client can see a product that's tangible, they understand how it works or what it does, how it solves their problem. And so we can market the product and say, here it is what it does, come and buy it. But in a professional service, it's about building a relationship. We can't sell our services in the same way that we sell our products, but that's how we often try. And that's what the typical marketing consultants, the people I referred to before that came in with all their tactics, were trying to sell the services, but never thought about how do we start off building a relationship. And that's what the sales escalator process does. It starts with entering the conversation that the client's having, the conversation that they're having with their friends about, I've got this problem, do you know how to solve it? Your content needs to engage them at that point so they start to see that content that talks about their problem, and then enroll them in ongoing communication so that you can educate them and give them greater knowledge and awareness about what the solution is for them, and so that they start to see you as the expert and the authority in this field. And when you're the person doing that in that buyer's journey, you're the one who's the expert. And this is where most of us go wrong, is that we're not playing our part on that buyer's journey. We're not creating the content. We're not creating the system and the process to move our clients through that buyer's journey. We're just hoping to pick them up when they're ready to buy and hope that someone refers them to us. So there's so many more people we can engage in this process, educate them about the value that we have to offer, build trust and credibility and authority in the process so that we entice them into a sales meeting so that they engage us on a commitment to do work, and then ultimately escalate that relationship so they do give us referrals, but also ask us to come back and help them more with the next thing that we can help them with. So the key to building authority is to have a systematic approach to it that you can automate and delegate and stand back from, so that the only time you need to become engaged is when they schedule a time in your calendar to talk to you about how you can help and how they can become a client. And this is what we did with Choice Commercial Interiors. They were specialists in a field, but they were winning most of their work from tenders and RFPs. In fact, 70% of their work came from tenders. So, and as anyone who plays that game knows, that tenders are usually won by the lowest price bidder. So the profit margins were very thin. We were able to turn their system around by systemizing their marketing and specializing and presenting them as the authorities in that field, flipped that whole process so that 70% of the work now came from negotiated work from people coming to them, asking them and only them how they could help. And Shelley Thompson is now regarded as Australia's leading expert and authority in the field of patient care, in the healthcare field. And she was able to flip the whole process of of client acquisition around from, you know, her trying to find clients to clients seeking her out. And that's the shift that we can create by systemizing the process of strategic authority marketing. So here's the system again, step by step, going from first phase, authority positioning, second phase, focus specialization, and the third phase, building your attraction system. So that's the opportunity. If you'd like to continue our conversation beyond today and have the opportunity, I'd love to offer you the chance to have a 60-minute conversation with me, and we'll do that in a strategy session exercise where you're able to sit down with me, no pressure. We're going to really focus on your business and what you can achieve. So Sarah, I think you've got a link there that you can pop in the chat that you can click on. So schedule that. So while you're having a think about whether you'd like to do that or not, just listen to and watch this little 90-second video that I'll play to you and see what.
Hello, Nat Nissen from Corporate Wellness Group. Just wanting to pop by and thank Greg from Business Flight Path so much for our strategy session, because it has changed everything. So until now, until our strategy session, I had marketers and advertisers and experts of all sorts telling me what to do and how to do it, and this was going to work. But it never really hit home, and it never really worked to the extent that I needed it to. And this was because I didn't follow the proper process that Greg has shown me. How to be an authority in my field that I already am, but how to get to the depths of that, how to really understand, how to get my passion across, how to get my values across, how to make sure that what I'm putting out is exactly what I want to be seen. It's so important that we get the foundations right. And now I understand exactly why, because in that strategy session, I have had more breakthroughs than I have had in the last few years of expert marketers trying to help me. So I just want to say thank you so much. And if you get an opportunity to work with Greg, don't hold back, just do it, because he is a life changer.
Okay, thanks, Nat. So hopefully you'll take the opportunity to talk about your business and really apply what we've talked about today to your business, because I'm very much going to make it all about you in this process and look at how you can achieve improvements and get more traction in your marketing. If you want to talk about how we could work together beyond that, then we can have that discussion as well, but that's certainly going to be your decision, and I won't be pushing for that. So right now we've got time for Q&A. I want to open up we've got 5 minutes left, so we've got time for questions. So come off mute, ask me any questions or make any comments. Love to hear your reflections about what you might have learned today, any insights that you've gained from what we've been through today. So floor is open for
Greg?
you. Yes, Chris.
Hi, Greg. It's Chris. I'm not sure if everybody else can hear me here, but I've got a question here. How you've talked about creating an authoritative marketing profile. How can you do that? Is there a way to do that in a non-digital fashion?
Yes. I started the first business in this field 25 years ago. And after fumbling around for a while and not really knowing what to do, I got some insights about how to create authority positioning. So it was a totally offline, non-digital space that we worked in there. But the same principles that I use now are really principles that were developed then. And it's just made it easier to to communicate through the digital space and through the tools we have now, like LinkedIn or Facebook to some extent, your website, obviously, blogs, email, makes a lot of the delivery easier. But in those days, we used to use the same strategy but using mail, and so it was snail mail, and the telephone. So and those still work today. In fact, Sarah's got a story of a mail out she did last week that has already resulted in clients for her through to a market that was typically not online during the day. So definitely works. Does that answer your question effectively, Chris?
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks, Greg.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, Pauline, event talks and presentation in the community also. Yeah, definitely live presentations. Definitely now that we can do those again are a very good way to achieve that authority positioning.
Just want to go back to the snail mail campaign you did, Sarah. I'm assuming you had a targeted, sorry, voice is going, targeted list of people that you already had in your mindset.
Yes, I attempted to use Sales Navigator and received, decent hits in terms of those people. But 2-3 months down the track, I was still receiving initial responses to connect requests and thought, okay, this is clearly not the platform to communicate on. And so I thought, well, if they're not hanging out on LinkedIn, and Facebook is hit and miss because they tend to hide in groups, and if you're a specialist group, you don't tend to want to let someone in who's from a completely different industry. It doesn't take Einstein to figure out they're going to be there to sell. I wouldn't want me in that group either. So I thought, well, let's go for the good old envelope and see what happens. And out of 74 envelopes we sent, 4 have responded positively and 2 have resulted in a sale already.
That's great. Jeremy, your question there about competing with the big 4 definitely is an issue for a lot of consultants. And this is where the focus specialization is critical. You need to be a specialist in an area that is much more targeted and narrow, because the big 4 tend to be broad, and they're service providers. They'll provide services for anything. But when you become the authority in your specific space and communicate around that very narrow targeted market segment that has a problem that you can solve better than the big 4 can, you need to be able to communicate that in a way that they understand, that you understand them better than the big 4 do. And that's really easy to do because the big 4 think they know it all, but they're really not that great. So definitely, I've been able to achieve that in my space, even in the business coaching space, where we had a lot of competitors and it grew over time, but we were able to charge 3 times as much as the average business coach because of the value of the services that we offered. And that was in relationships that lasted 6 years until I actually sold the business, and they're still working with the business today. So there's definitely opportunities there, Jeremy, to really target your market more effectively and be able to communicate a more specific message that is meaningful to them. Come off mute, and if I haven't answered your questions effectively, or if you have any other follow-up questions.
I think just thank you for that, Greg. I think that was valuable advice. I've just got to do it.
Yep.
Other than that, was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, well, you've got the tools there now. Maybe you need some help with that. I'm happy to have a chat about how we could help with that.
Thank you.
Hi, Greg. I really liked the insight around finding lead generation, but delegating that process of lead generation, which I delegated everything I thought I could about my business, which is aged care navigation. But I realised that when you said you can delegate your lead generation, I'm like, I have not even thought about that.
Right.
There you go. That was a great insight for me today. So Sarah, look out.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I'm glad to be of assistance there. Okay, Rod, good to have you on board. Hope I can catch up with you on a strategy session. All right, we are just after the hour. If there are any final questions, happy to stick around for a couple of minutes, but feel free to leave if you have to rush off. Otherwise, yeah, open for a couple more questions or comments.
Yep. Thanks, Greg.
Okay, Jeremy, good to see you. Margaret's asked, have I plugged my book yet? And Jeremy has actually, well, bought it. I'm not sure if he's read it, but he has bought it. And yeah, so the book Margaret's referring to is the book Cracking the Code, which is specifically for owners of professional service firms and how to grow their business. So we talk about a lot of what we've talked about today in that book. So you can get that book at crackingthecodebook.com.au if that's where you'd like to go. Great, thanks, Eric. Well, thanks for your comments there. You've read the book, so thank you. Okay, looks like we're just about wrapping up. No final questions. So again, thanks for being on the presentation today. I hope you've had great value from it, and look forward to you taking advantage of that strategy session and 60 minutes to talk with me about your specific situation, how we can apply the system to you. All right, thanks everyone. Good, thanks for your comments. Look forward to seeing you again, and all the best. We'll wrap it up right here and now.